Hey guys, welcome back to Retail Chloe. I have a really awesome guest coming on today, Michael McHenry. He's the founder of the McHenry Restaurant Group. If you're not familiar, he founded and created Sunday's Best, which was voted Utah's #1 brunch, Oakwood Fire Kitchen in Draper, Pica Rica, which is in St. George, and was just rated the #1 barbecue spot in the nation. So he's very, very accomplished. He's an awesome guy. He won Restaurant of the Year multiple times, won Best Restaurant Concept 5 times over, and has generated over $500 million in restaurant revenue. So welcome, Michael McHenry, to Retail Chloe.
Well,
thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much for reaching out and courting me to this.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Of course, we're really excited.
Cool.
Okay, just to start out, you might kind of just briefly telling us your story. How'd you get into the restaurant business? Kind of, walk us through it.
Yeah. I got in the restaurant business on accident. It wasn't
As most people do.
Yeah, totally.
I
didn't start in a kitchen, or I wasn't a busboy or a host or server or cook. I just knew it from the guest perspective. Bowling was actually my background in sport. So I like to say I was shaped like a linebacker, and bowling was my sport in the 90s. And most definitely I competed in that at a pretty high level. And that afforded me the opportunity to approach the guys that own Fat Cats here in Salt Lake City. And I rented a retail space from them for what was called the McHenry Sports Shop. So it was anything that had to do with apparel, equipment, repair, instructions, whatever it might be. I had my own bowling pro shop.
Okay.
And I was 19 at the time. And about 6 to 8 months into that venture, the founders of Fat Cats approached me and said, "Hey, we want to have a meeting with you. We have this idea and this vision for a restaurant. We think you'd be incredible for it. And we think you're too talented to be in the pro shop business." And I was like, quickly I was offended. I'm like, "You're going to tell me that I'm too talented for something I've spent my entire life doing?" I've bowled more than 34,000 games.
That's actually crazy.
So it was my hand grew crooked. I pulled my pelvic bone apart from repetitive motion. I'm obsessed. And so they start this conversation with me, and quickly in my mind, I was just ignorant and young. I'm like, who are these guys? I'm going to own this bowling center. These guys are popping off basically.
Yeah.
And about an hour later, I agreed to be the first general manager of, at the time, what was called Costa Vida or Costa Azul. Ended up being Costa Vida a few years later.
Okay.
And I was with them from one store to many. And so I got my start in the restaurant business by being on the founding team of Costa Vida, and I became absolutely obsessed and just never looked back.
That's amazing. I did not know that.
That's how I'm sitting here with you.
I didn't know that about
And I
Costa
still
Vida.
believe to this day, and I tell the fans and my partners and chefs and those that work with me, I still believe that everything tastes better in a tortilla. I really do. And I love marrying pancakes with champagne, and I love putting hot honey on pepperoni pizzas. And there's no question that we, at Pica Rica Americana Barbecue in St. George, we put what we believe is the absolute best smoked brisket onto a tortilla with a beautiful salsa and take a bite of it. So it's just, Costa Vida will be forever in my blood.
It's kind of a tribute to your start.
Yeah. And I love those guys. I still believe I bleed sweet pork and tomatillo ranch from time to time. It was at that time in my life where it was just instrumental. Mm-hmm. It was monumental. I had no idea that brand, that opportunity, that those founders, that they would afford me. And that would afford me such an opportunity to impact as many lives as we have. We have served millions of guests since then, millions, created millions of experiences. Good. We've celebrated life. We've celebrated, whatever it may be, whether it's a time of mourning and you're relying on, your neighborhood restaurant or bar as a place of normalcy, during times of crisis, or you're leaning into our dining rooms and bar tops for a place to celebrate. We got you on both ends of that for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. So I kind of mentioned this in the intro that I filmed before.
Okay. Yeah.
But can you run through the concepts that you have under your umbrella now?
Yeah.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So we currently have 3 brands.
Okay.
And we have Oakwood Fire Kitchen in Draper. Just had its 6th birthday. And
that's the only location, correct?
That's the only location.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oakwood Fire Kitchen in Draper. Single unit location, introduce it in the marketplace to really introduce and interpret what it means to be a true neighborhood bistro.
Okay.
And it just absolutely crushes it, as I think you may know. And we're having our most relevant year now,
Awesome.
which is really awesome. 2024 was amazing. We're poised well for 2025. And biasly, I think we have the best pizza in the state. Without question, the hot honey pepperoni is just off the charts. And then, of course, we have Sunday's Best. In Sandy. That was our first location. We have Sunday's Best at the airport that just opened recently, right next to gate B23. So we'd like to say we're kind of co-anchoring the new gate, B gate expansion, and Sunday's Best just came to market just over 3 years ago, and I think ultimately put the brunch business in a chokehold. I think
you're right in saying that. Voted number one best brunch in Utah, correct?
No question. Also, it's the second most booked restaurant in all of Utah on OpenTable, which is kind of a metric we're really proud of because we've held that for about 18 months to 2 years. Only second to the number one grossing restaurant in all of Utah, which happens to be Ruth Chris in downtown. And so when you kind of look at that and realize like, wow, we stand there amongst 5,000 other restaurants and bars in Utah, excuse me. And not all of them are on OpenTable, but most of them are if they're taking reservation. And so that's something we really hang our hat on. But also just good timing the market and having that sophisticated experience and creating real placemaking for people. And, what I probably love most about Sunday's Best, whether that be in Sandy, in the airport, or soon to be, in downtown Salt Lake City and in St. George, like that's a place where you go to see and be seen.
Yes.
To eat wonderfully, it's just an overall awesome experience. So we have that. And then last, but of course not least, is Pica Rica Americana Barbecue in St. George. It's just right below the boulevard on Main Street. And it absolutely challenged the status quo in barbecue. And we're really proud of it. We're just, we'll come up on our 2-year anniversary April 20th. So a little 420 to celebrate, some munchies along the way. And we're really proud of what we've created there. My chef partner, Jason Neely, and the visionary behind the barbecue of the concept truly is a brisket king. Like he just
knows it.
It's just so special. And when you look at that, Chloe, Pica Rica was just named top 7 in the country for Texas style barbecue by Texas Monthly. And Texas Monthly is the most authoritative voice in barbecue. You can't buy that.
Yeah.
You can't buy a place.
They rank them, correct?
They rank them, and they still, Daniel Vaughn, who happens to be their like kind of head food critic and writer, you can't manipulate that situation. You can't buy advertising. This is like no best of state type of opportunity. And so they spent 16 to 18 months, 35 states, I believe, and 150 kind of pre-qualified restaurants. And they toured those, and they ate, they wrote about them. They referenced some of them. And what Texas Monthly ended up doing is, here are the top 50 Texas style restaurants outside of Texas in the country. And Pica Rica was named number 7.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, the team is just, they're absolutely obsessed with it, which I love. And it's also has the highest rated or highest rating on our review platforms of any of our restaurants. Has been open less than 2 years. It already has like 1,000 reviews or close to it, which is a lot. And I don't believe that Utah's ever made a list like that.
I don't
think that they've even had an honorary mention. And so I think those that were kind of not booing us, but like, why are you getting into barbecue? Why do you want to do this? And I think for all the reasons why people thought we shouldn't is exactly why we did, because we believed it was time to do it differently. Have you had a chance to go?
No, I haven't, but I've seen it everywhere. You walk in and go, you can tell that this is in the TMG family. You're not going to walk into this restaurant. It's like earth toned and kind of smoky and dirty and what's typical for barbecue. You walk into ours, you're like, it's bright. It's kind of spicy. You can see that it was inspired. There's Central Texas and Mexico City come together in this beautiful marry to just create this kind of experience through our menu, through the aesthetic, through the service style, and its culture. So it's really fun. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward. Hopefully I can make it down there.
Cool.
Make it down there soon. Okay. So the Sandy Sunday's Best unit was a training table for like 30 years, right?
Those some big shoes to fill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it sat dark for a while, I want to say, before you took it over. You've literally breathed life back into that space. Probably when it was a training table, it was a little dead. It's talk about that.
Yeah. So one, training table is an absolute staple to kind of my adolescence as well as early in my career. Believe it or not, my first large, I should say like my first meaningful promotion at the Costa Vida brand actually happened in the dining room at training table.
They presented it to you
back in like 2006.
Okay.
And so there was this interesting like homage in a sense, like there was something about me that just, when I walked into the space, it just was nostalgic and it was really meaningful. And, I planned to be at Costa Vida for the rest of my career. I was like, I wanted to be the CEO. I never even thought of any other brands. At that time, I was so operationally minded that all I wanted to do was be in that brand. And so I had that bit. Plus I ate there as a kid. I'd go there with my dates. Like it was just, I grew up in Sandy. And so that just meant a lot to me. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that 20 years later, I could bring one of our most relevant brands back to my hometown, and then to be able to have the associations within that space. But there's no question that there was a radical difference between, cheese fries and dipping sauce and a number 34, which was like the turkey Swiss something that I love so much. Radically different than pancakes. And champagne. And so, yes, I believe it was a training table from the late 70s until like 2012, 13 or something. And then it was then purchased by Maza and Ali, who's an incredible chef and a great man. And he purchased it and then went into, a build out and went to open it pre-pandemic. I think he opened it in January of like 2021. And so it was just like just a few weeks before, the close down, and we just stayed close to him and we really liked the space and we saw what was going on with, 9th and some of the other developments. And we just stayed close to him. And one day he just called my partner and I, Chef Tyler Stokes, and just said, hey, like guys, if you have interest in this, I think that, why don't you lease it from me? And so we went in and we leased it at the time and excuse me, did our build out, worked all through that. And then ultimately we got that thing open in June. And as you know, I mean, it's just pretty much been like cut the ribbon and it's been awesome. And then I think, as you may know, we ended up purchasing the building and Legends represented that deal. And so really cool to see how Small Lake City is all intertwined. And so, that's how we ended up there. Yeah.
That's awesome. And the guys that you bought it from, the Mazda guys, they operate on 15th.
They
now,
do,
right?
yeah. And they're still like the leaders in that category.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. And Ali also was recently, he was a James Baird nominee, and most definitely is one of Utah's most talented culinarians.
Cool.
Like he is a great man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite part about running the restaurants in Utah? Like your top, like what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Yeah. By the way, thank you for these thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I didn't get in this business because I'm a culinarian or I'm a chef. I'm not like overly passionate about cheese or wine or, oftentimes like the composition of something. But I'm wildly passionate about you. Like eating in our dining rooms. I'm wildly passionate about the beautiful vessel that a great well composed meal or beverage can be to the overall experience and connectivity of our relationships, experiences, essence within our communities. I think there's just nothing that connects community like a great restaurant or bar. And so I think truly, the end of the day, it's just connecting others through great food and hospitality is what I love. I love when I see you walk through the door with you is everyone that's listening, but it's like when you walk through the door and you're like, wow, where am I? Or this is like, I love how I feel in here, or this is just so beautiful, or this tastes so wonderful, or I want to share it with my friends, or when I see it on social and people are so proud to share a plate or a backdrop or a photo opportunity, whether it's a selfie in the mirror or, standing in front of one of our neons or, cheersing in the dining room. That's why I do it. I do it because as a kid, I always wanted people to feel seen. There was something like, I almost went into like fashion and beauty and cosmetology and those bits because I wanted people to feel seen. And I had no idea that I could curate that in the restaurant business, whether that be with
that
tortillas
inclusivity
or
feeling. Yeah.
Just never knew I could do it. And now that we do it and we do it at scale, and I think we do it tastefully, and I think we're some of the best to do it in the market. I'm really proud of it. Yeah. I'm really proud of that.
That's amazing.
And the opportunity. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it seems like this is a huge compliment to you. I just told you for the past 10 minutes, you do an amazing job with your marketing.
Thank you.
From the outside, it kind of feels like you spend 10 times the time on marketing than you do on operations.
Yeah.
Who runs your operations for you? How's that set up? How do you play to that?
Thank you. By the way, that was a very smart question too. There's no question that we lean heavily into marketing and brand. I think there's no question that today more than ever, people eat with you long before first bite, right? You see it socially. You're like, I want to be where other people are. We create and share what seems to be a lot organically. We share a lot of the experiences and the very essence of what it's like to break bread in our dining rooms, what it's like to participate in one of our parties, whether you're joining us for a brunch after dark, whether you're joining one of our 4 curated events of the year, or just like next week, you're going to join us for the opening weekend of the Sundance when we do a Kimosabi takeover on Main Street and collaborate with one of the top like high fashion country brands in the country, and to be able to see us doing that is really fun and unique. But the ops team, these are absolute killers. Like these guys and gals that run our operations, that drive performance across our entire fold, are remarkable at what they do and how they do it. And it's part of my business model. So like I mentioned before, like I'm not a chef or a culinarian. And although I cut my teeth and spent my time in ops, like I'm visionary, like I'm brand building, experience creation. I'm focused on culture. I'm not writing schedules, negotiating supply chain, like running menu mixes or executing on the ops side on a daily basis. But I partner with those very individuals that I believe that are an expert in that specific vertical and that specific brand, and I welcome them in.
Place the trust in their hands.
Exactly, and empower them and resource them and work together with them. And because I have a vast operational experience, I most definitely can provide that as the founder and CEO. But I most definitely allow them, and I shouldn't say allow them, but empower them to drive that type of performance across our entire fold. And so we have a director of training, Jennifer Yamashiro Brinkerhoff. She's incredible. Our director of brand and concept, and Brian Gutierrez is phenomenal. And my partners, Jason Neely, who drives our day-to-day operations with our general managers and staff on the Pica Rica brand, and then Chef Tyler Stokes, who drives the day-to-day and the culinary aspects and operational aspects with our GM in the Sunday's Best brand, and then my operating partner and Chef Ian Jensen at Oakwood Fire Kitchen, together with our support staff, and they just crush. So they allow me to be me. And so, I always tell them, like, my goal and responsibility is to make sure that our North Star is so glowingly bright that we're just blinded by anything else that may be there, and to be consistent and resourceful, and to put as many butts in the seats as possible. And the rest is up to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. You do a really good job at it.
Thank you.
I know you post, you're big into social media.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of ROI on your time on there.
Yeah.
In social media. Do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think today more than ever, having a present personal brand is like the igniter. It's sort of like, hopefully I'm not too soon in saying that with all the fires happening, around us right now. So no disrespect there, but I absolutely believe that it's just like, it is the igniter to everything that you do. And I use it a big part of it professionally and personally. I kind of use it as like my daily journal and my daily share, but also as my accountability measure. I love to show what's happening in our brands, but I also love to show what's happening in my personal life. And I'm so lifestyle kind of driven. I'm like, whether that's health and wellness, fashion, the things that I just love. I'm a big supporter of brands that do it really, really well, whether they're in our industry or outside of our industry. But I most definitely, we spend a considerable amount of time. And I would say there's no question that the amount of opportunities, whether that's in qualifying new real estate or outcome or deal flow or raising capital or driving promotions or ticket sales or reservations. I don't have a huge following on social by any means. I've never bought a single follower or, tried to go out and do giveaways to get them. I've just curated what I think is a really cool community that just follows what we're doing and shares what we're doing. But it's wild. I have just over 10,000 followers on Instagram, right on that platform.
That's a decent amount of followers.
And that's one platform that I manage on my own. And I've never sold it, but my reach on a monthly basis, the impressions that I make on a monthly basis are between 300 and 500,000 a month. So if you think about having 10,000 followers, like if I pulled up my phone right now, I'm for sure probably at 300,000+ impressions this month. And so when I put something out there, it's like a good post for me is going to be seen by 6,000 to 8,000 people. A good story for me is going to be seen by 1,000 to 4,000 people. And that's big reach.
Yes.
And then, the metrics of engagement and comments and the things that are there, just the shares and the saves and the comments are just really big for our brands. And so I think a part of that too, Chloe, is it's the only social platform of mine that I manage on my own.
Your Instagram account.
I don't manage my LinkedIn on my own or my email on my own or TikTok or Twitter, these other bits, but Instagram is 100% me.
That's awesome.
I don't manage our brand handles. That's on the brand team, but I manage my own. The Michael McHenry handle is just me. So if I'm responding to you, it's me. If I'm
that's awesome.
hearting you, it's me. If I'm putting something in stories, it's me.
Yeah. That's amazing.
There's
been a lot of like personal brand talk in the real estate world, of course, because, we're all doing the same thing. We're all chasing the same dream.
Outcomes. So similar.
So personal branding is really big, especially in retail. It seems like, sometimes you'll have these like corporate shops with like office or industrial brokers that, they all kind of just blend into the same thing. The corporate doesn't want them to like go against the grain, but it's been interesting to see the platform build and, connections made literally just through social media. I'll have people come up to me. I feel like I know who you are just because I've seen you on social media. Like, I know your personality. I know what you order at the bar. I know your coffee order or whatever,
What's that like for you when that happens?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit, it depends on who I'm with. Sometimes I'm like, if the person I'm with doesn't know that I, run a retail account or whatever, but most of the time it's really fun there. The feedback is, I love your account. I love what you're doing. I love the announcements you make. I hear about all the new concepts because of you,
Well, like my wife or my daughter, they'll tease me from time to time. Like they'll be like, geez, we can't go anywhere. Like it's like a gas station, a restaurant, the mall, the airport, like wherever you are, like somebody is going to bring it up. And interesting enough that there is like, it's pretty humbling too at times, just because I'm like, geez, I sell pancakes for a living and you guys are like treating me like I'm some celebrity. And the truth is I think it has a lot to do with who you see on my social and who you see in person is the same.
Yes.
And who you see in the dining room versus who you see at the kids' basketball game is the same person. And who's walking around the neighborhood, every evening with his wife, like same person.
Yeah.
And someone said to me one time, they're like, does it ever get like tiring or exhausting? And I used to have very little like empathy or, compassion for like A-list celebrities that were just like, I can't believe that Justin Bieber wouldn't like write that autograph or say hello to that little kid, or like, how can you can't just look up and smile when you're at a restaurant? And I remember saying some of that like early on. And then I realized that in no way do I have this A-list like, status by any means. But in Utah, I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know of a lot of people and a lot of people seem to know of me. And so it's rare that we go to a restaurant or we go to any retail or a sporting event or, some sort of community activity where we don't get recognized in some way. And I remember like one night my wife and I were just like, let's just go to somewhere we wouldn't typically go so we can just like hide out. It's kind of like date night.
Stay low key.
I remember we were like, of all things, we're like, let's go to Texas Roadhouse. And that was like the opposite choice that we should have made, because it was like we sat at this dining room table near the bar and we got stopped. Like it felt like every 5 to 10 minutes, somebody else stopped at the table.
Really?
And Christy's like,
your wife?
Like, yeah, my wife, she was just like, what is like, is that good? And I'm like, honey, sometimes I just want to be like leaned in with you in that situation. And she said something to me right there that I thought was like really important. She goes, would you ever choose not being relevant over being relevant? And I said, probably not. I go, no, definitely not. I go, like, I would choose being relevant and being able to utilize that platform and that relevance to provide healthy, good insight and connectivity versus like not being seen. And so sometimes you just got to manage that a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And I hope that comes across right, because I mean it super well, that I would never choose not to be.
Yes.
And there is a stewardship, I think, and a responsibility when you are to utilize it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pros outweigh the cons for sure.
Yeah, totally.
And I think there is something to be said about, being authentic. I think people can tell through a screen if you're who you say you are, and when they meet you, there's stuff all over TikTok all the time. I met this influencer and they were so mean. Yeah. They act so nice online, blah, blah, blah. And I think you can tell that through a screen.
Totally. And this is something, we work with a lot of entertainers and athletes. We do a lot of, whether that's catering or insulated, pop-up club-like experiences, or just lots of cool stuff that we do that way. And when we started bringing in like certain artists or favorite artists for some of our clients, right? So we're like, we've put on private concerts for clients and other things of that matter. And we start working with some of these managers, and some of the managers, like, sometimes it's, someone meets their favorite artist for the first time and it changes their whole perspective, because sometimes they're just burned or calloused, or just not who you see. Like what you see is what you get. And there are some that are just wildly gracious and super friendly, like Neo. When he comes in our dining rooms, he hugs everyone. Yeah. He'll take pictures for an hour, regardless of what his management or security wants. Like, he just loves on people. Or like my good friend, Brian Kelly, from Florida Georgia Line, that, has his own solo projects now, but he comes in the dining room, and I remember saying to him, like, hey bro, like, do you want me to kind of create a little distance for you? He's like, I'm going to finish up this meal and I'm going to spend about 20 minutes right here. And he's like, I'm just grateful to be seen, bro.
That's awesome.
Or like Brandon Flowers, when he walks in the dining rooms, like, he's just like any other human. These people are just humanizing, but I can tell that it has to be exhausting. Like, there's just no privacy. Yeah. Like, zero privacy. So it's fun.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys do get a decent amount of, that was literally my next question. Oh. I said, do you literally know 90% of all A-list celebrities?
I don't know that I know them all. But I think we have most definitely created a reputation where we know how to create an environment that can curate a good furthering experience for those that seem to be pretty popular. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that our culture understands how to navigate and support it. I love that they feel, comfortable to sit at our tables or want to utilize, our expertise and experiences, whether we're, catering it or, popping up a private chef or bar-like experience for, one of their second homes, or when they're living here. I mean, we do a lot of that. And I think that really comes down to, one, recognizing that they're just human and that they want to be humanized. And the other side of it is that we can trust, they know that we're not going to put that all over social media or necessarily, parade that, out in the public. I share something like a Brandon Flowers, because he's in our dining rooms often. I saw him this week and I saw him wave to a couple of tables, and I saw this group of ladies sitting 2 tables away from him, and they were just like, didn't know what to do with themselves. And he's just smiling, like eating with his son and being awesome. And it's really, really cool. And that probably all really happened during All-Star.
Really? All-Star
weekend, it went from like some people knowing us to like being the choice for Utah when they come to town.
So did you do a lot of preparation, a lot of reach out in advance to All-Star weekend, or why do you think it happened that way?
You touched on this a little bit, but at the time, this was before you could like pay for your verification, right? Or you could get verified. And I was verified on social. And I was one of the only restaurateurs in Utah that was verified. And that one thing was like the gateway. It was like, oh, well, this guy's verified on social. He's
a big deal.
He's a big deal. And then we had a good relationship with some of the jazz players and some of the brands and other people we had done business with. And so it was like, it was quick. And then we went from like being kind of known locally and maybe regionally to now even
everyone knows you.
Teams fly in town, we're taking care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we're
awesome.
taking care of probably as many visiting teams, if not more visiting teams, than we take care of our own teams.
That's amazing.
At this point. And then during that time, because a lot of artists and managers and agents were all working through that, we started doing business for Clutch Sports and other managers, and that just took off.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, we do a lot with like athleisure brands and lifestyle brands. And so all of a sudden, like, we didn't realize that something like that would put us in this vein with like sports brands and agents and lifestyle brands and clothing brands and beverage brands and beauty brands and high fashion brands.
Yeah. It just really opens the door to everywhere.
Just like what we're doing with Kimosabi next week for Sun Valley or for Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that event. That'll be awesome.
Well, you should come.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, in fact, kick me a note, and we've closed the books on it. It's a private event, but not for you.
Oh,
like, you're in.
Thank you.
Yeah, so please bring someone up with you and come enjoy.
Okay,
yeah,
I'd love
be
to.
Awesome. Make sure you wear your like best, high fashion country.
Of
wear.
course,
yeah, you gotta hit the vibe.
I'm gonna have to hit up Takova's.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, or Chemo. Yeah, either one. Or. And I'm a big fan of Takova. Takova, I'm shamelessly plugging you. Sponsor me already.
Okay, one last question for you.
Okay.
What else do you have in the pipeline? I know you have these restaurants right now, and you've expanded Sunday's Best to the airport. You have Sunday's Best opening downtown. Sunday School is a new concept, so it's you've expanded, but sort of in a different way. You're not just replicating your units.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the plan for the other two brands as well, or do you have new ideas for new brands on the rise, or kind of open the doors there if you can? It's
interesting when you ask me what's on the horizon, like what's in the pipeline, and the first thing you go to my mind is like being an incredible dad.
Aww.
Like I just like, this is, if there's something that I want to scale with 3 daughters and my twins that are just 3 turning 4 this year, I'm so vested in that. Like I never knew that I'd be like the dad sitting here that was like, my daughters are my favorite, like being the best man I can be, father I can be, husband I can be, just leader, business owner, community member, contributor. Like that's number 1 in my pipeline this year, is to continue to build upon what I've been building on for the last 2 to 3 years. And then there's our business, and no question that we're taking Sunday's Best to the moon. Like that brand is so special. And so we're really excited about that. We'll open 2, what we think are like flagship locations this year. And then we'll introduce our 4th brand to the fold, which is Sunday School. And Sunday School is that like very intentional rooftop, beverage forward, brunch club experience, hanging furniture, end cap atriums, overlooking the city, very bright, very Miami, South Beach, Palm Springs, sitting right here, at the foot of the Wasatch Mountains. So we're really excited about this. So we'll get downtown Salt Lake City open. In our Sunday's Best, we'll open our Sunday School upstairs, which is the 21 and older experience. And then we'll open our Sunday's Best on the Boulevard in St. George, which we love St. George.
That'll absolutely crush in St. George.
And I think
St.
we
George
got the
has
best
awful food right now.
And I think we have the best location in the entire city. Like we're right on the boulevard. We're a block and a half off of I-15. We have over 80 parking stalls. You can go east or west out of our parking lot on the boulevard, which is like rare. We have a large monument sign. Like we have all of the things from a social aspect. We have the the geography, the radiant, like everything that's there just checks a lot of those boxes. We're so excited about that, to be 45 minutes away from the entrance to national parks, to be an international kind of gateway from Las Vegas and those that are traveling to, greater than 60% of the customers that we get on a daily basis at Pica Rica in St. George are actually from out of town.
Really?
And we get strong support from the locals too. And I love the locals of St. George. And also like St. George needs more good quality. Like there's some other good restaurants there, don't get me wrong, but they need more. And no one is crushing brunch. Like no one is doing brunch with our intentionality. And I'm a big fan of other diners and those that are doing brunch in the marketplace. I'm not like kind of competitor, like, oh dude, I can't believe you guys are like, I got respect for you. Like I like Chef Joey and Andrew Smith and Josh Bouchard and those guys from Savory and what they're doing with Haas Kitchen. I just know I'm doing something different. Yeah. And we can both belong in the marketplace together. But I truly believe that no one is kind of as sophisticated and as delicious and as beautiful and as friendly as we are. Like our culture is a complete standout. So taking that brand to scale, and then we're hopeful. Like it could be potentially 2026, but you could see a second Pica Rica Americana barbecue land in northern Utah by the end of this year. But we'll just see. Right now, we're just it's pancake, champagne, and smiles going to the moon this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're stoked about it.
Okay, this is kind of just for my own curiosity. Yeah. Do you ever think about going outside of Utah with the brands? Yeah,
always.
Where would be the first state you jump to?
There's no question that we'll go. We really love Boise.
Okay, I didn't think you were going to say Boise.
That. Have you eaten in Boise? Have you entertained in Boise?
I have driven through a lot of times, never really stayed or spent time there, but I have heard great things.
Downtown Boise will blow your mind. It is, I think, from a culinary experience, sometimes hospitality and entertainment, they're further along than Salt Lake City.
Really?
I moved to Boise, Meridian and Boise in 2006. And I was like, I'm moving to this cowboy town. I'm 20, like at the time I was like 22 or 23. I don't even know how old I was. 23 or 24 years old. I'm like, I cannot believe it. And within like 2 days of being there, I had called all of my friends and basically turned my rental house into like a frat house. It was just literally, I was like, I'm like, if you don't come here and spend the week, if we don't float the river, if we don't go surfing, if we don't go to this concert, if we don't go bar hopping, if we don't go eat, it's just like, what are we doing? I love Boise. We love Scottsdale. We love Central Phoenix. We're really starting to like Nevada a lot. Okay. There's some large casino operators that are really interested in what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we like that. Like we like Idaho, Arizona, Nevada. Mm-hmm.
You'll
most definitely see us. We like this sort of like Southwestern kind of vibe. We like Texas a lot too. So yeah, those are markets we really like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about or discuss?
Well, thank you so much. Like,
of course.
One, inviting me onto your platform. I never take that for granted. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you
for being just thoughtful in your questions and also just like thank you for your support. And you know, we love the Legends team too. Like they're cool. It was fun to walk in here and spend the first 30 minutes or so catching up with a bunch of people, whether that's with a card and dad or a broker or one of the partners. Yeah. That's really, really cool. It's what I love about Utah. Mm-hmm. Is that it's just small enough, but just big enough, I think, to be, the best little city in the country. So Thank you for having me on your platform. And thank you to all of you that are listening in and for supporting our brands. And if you haven't yet, please do. And if you ever want to connect with me, just go to my Instagram at Michael McHenry and give me a follow. And if you see something there that's shaking up, like DM me and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But I appreciate everyone's support. I love this city. So,
yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Cheers.